Yes, this video we're going to talk about understanding and diagnosing the condition of your fat tissue. Now, it's very important to look at our fat tissue in a very objective way. We don't want to think of just fat as all bad and we want to lose as much fat as possible or have as little fat on the body as possible, because fat is tissue is providing lubrication for the body, it's giving strength, it's giving nourishment, and it's supporting your bones and your nervous system. So people with low fat diets, and they have more problems with their bones, degenerative bone conditions, osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, and more nerve issues and neurological problems. And this fat is also insulating and protecting your body from hot and cold. So if you don't have enough fat on the body, then you tend to get cold easy or hot easy. And it's also providing nutrients as a reserve, like a backup when you've been not able to eat, you've skipped a meal, or you're unable to get to food. You have your fat tissue to provide comfort. And when you don't have this and nutrients to the body, in fact, when we have sufficient amount of fat, we feel more content and more happy. And when we are lacking of fat tissue in our body, we have more nervousness and anxiety, kind of like driving a car on an empty gas tank. The gas is on, light is on low, and so it makes the driver nervous because there's not much reserves, and that's what a person feels like when they have low fat in their body. We can see our fat clearly by just looking at the back of our hands and seeing how thick the skin is here, and we don't want the bones protruding too much, just like we don't want the ribs protruding too much. Once the ribs are protruding too much in a human and as well as in a horse, we know that there's not enough fat in the body. And this would apply to your animals as well. We don't want them too thin, too underweight, too bony. Otherwise, there's not enough fat tissue. When there's deficient fat tissue in the body, we call this vata, because vata is kind of a dry, light, cold attributes that are depleting. And then you have lack of lubrication, lack of sweat, you have dry skin, and dry stools is a very typical symptom of low fat diet besides the dry skin. Just putting more oil on the skin isn't solving the problem. We need to lubricate the body from the inside. That's why Ayurveda does oil enemas, which will absorb the fat through the colon, and this supplies the body very quickly, or allows the body to absorb and digest the fat right from the colon, and this makes the skin soft and moist quite quickly in this manner. And then people can see that they needed more fat in the diet. In fact, people who do oil enemas have come back and told me, who were very dry and depleted and had low body fat, that they put in half a quart of oil and nothing came back out. Their body just absorbed it right back up. Well, if you're healthy and you do these oil enemas, quite a bit of the oil will just come right back out. These people are often, when they have too much vata in their fat tissue, or they're depleted, they're actually craving more fat and oily foods anyway. But we can see the dry lips, the cracking skin, premature aging, weight loss, and it also contributes to insomnia too, by being underweight and having not enough fat on the body. And another sign of low fat in the body is just cracking joints. I mean, we said that fat is not just protecting our skin. That's why we look at how much fat is on our skin, because we want to be protected from the outer elements. But we also want our joints lubricated. We don't want all the joints cracking. I can't do it, so I have enough fat. But if your joints are cracking easily, your neck is cracking and then you're not either able to digest the fat, or you're not eating sufficient fat. Of course, many people have a misunderstanding here. They think eating an avocado and a few nuts every day is sufficient fat for the body, but it's not. I mean, we require a couple tablespoons a day just to maintain, the amount of fat that our body uses on a daily basis. So many thin and underweight people are actually very deficient in fat, often even more than muscle tissue. Now, if you have excess fat, we all know what that means. Overweight, you have excess urination, can lead to slow metabolism, high cholesterol, gallstones. When there's too much fat in the body, the gallbladder can congest, low libido, and this also contributes to diabetes and pre-diabetic conditions. Now, that's when there's too much kapha in your fat tissue, so you become overweight. Now, you can also have too much pitta in your fat tissue, and the pitta is hot, and so this makes you sweat a lot and also depletes you of fat. It's like burning off the fat. So you're sweating a lot, you can feel dizzy, you can become more intolerant, irritable, and you kind of like an adrenal exhaustion, a burning out. And this is a pitta person who's already is most susceptible to this, where they have a lot of heat, a lot of anxiety, and they're not eating sufficient fat and oil and pushing themselves, and then we kind of burn up all of the excess fat in the body, and we have a kind of adrenal burnout. So what is increasing the fat? We know fried foods, oily foods, even too much water, hydrophilic foods such as salt and yogurt and watermelon, not enough exercise, and of course the underactive thyroid will contribute to this. And also when you have too little fat, or vata, this can become from excess exercise. We see some athletes, professional athletes, who are exercising so much that they have too little fat on their body. Often that's what they want, but from a professional point of view, we can clearly see that the person doesn't have enough fat, and then we can also see that they also have bone problems, joint problems, and even nerve problems like anxiety and nervousness, contribute to having low fat. And by having low fat in the body, it also creates more anxiety. And like I said, what you really want to avoid is excess. We know excess fat creates these type of congestions in gallbladder and overweight. And what people don't often accept is insufficient fat in the body. And we're going to see signs of cracking joints, dry skin, dry stools, and this is going to lead to osteoporosis and even osteoarthritis. So we want to keep the fat level balanced. That's what it's about, not being extreme and trying to be low fat and no fat, but trying to find a balance and have a sufficient amount of fat in the body, not too much, not too little. And this is what the goal is in Ayurveda, is to make sure your different tissues in the body are balanced, not too vata, not too pitta, or not too kapha. So I hope that helped you understand the importance of having sufficient fat. And of course, we all know the harm of having excess fat. But also, it's important to note that there's too much pitta, or inflammation, in our body can contribute to adrenal exhaustion, kidney infections, and too much pitta. So look at your fat tissue from this information and determine, do I have too little fat? Do I have too much fat? Or is my fat tissue inflamed? You're looking at it from the Ayurvedic point of view and determining if you have too much vata, pitta, or kapha in your fat tissue, called Medas Dhatu. And these imbalances are called the medadushti, the imbalances of fat tissue. So I hope that helps you better understand fat and to determine the state of your fat tissue in your body.